Hello yogis, so today we're looking at the hips, the domain of the second chakra. It's called Svadhisthana and it's represented by the water element. So if you think about water when it's in flow, not when it's sort of ice or stagnant, but when it's in a healthy flow, that's the kind of feeling that we want when we're working with the second chakra. As you will be aware, the hips have this amazing ability to help us change direction and move, and we can get a very fluid sort of sense of movement from the hips when they're in good state of flexibility. So we're going to look at that today. It represents creativity and pleasure as well. So we're going to start on all fours. And we're going to bring the feet together and take the knees a bit wider than you would normally, maybe towards the outer edges of the mat. And we're going to really, really slowly, with control, take the bum back towards the heels. So we're stretching out the lower back, which is also, of course, part of the hip. And we can come into this, in and out of this, so that we're not moving in a sort of rigid way. We're trying to ease ourselves into this pose. It's called child pose. So take a bit of time to come down. We want to sense the lengthening of the lower back. Finally, when your bum comes back towards your heels, then you can bring your head to the floor. So take deep breaths here, deep breaths into the hips so you feel the movement of the breath in the lower body. And you can sway a little as well from left to right because we're really interested in that nice fluid sensation. We're going to take the hands all the way around to the right side. Breathing here. And then all the way around to the left side. And back to centre. And we're going to reach hands in front, really reaching away, pressing down into the hands, coming forward. We're going to let our hips move forward and backwards. So we're just finding a movement that feels therapeutic. It's not about necessarily making a big movement. It could be quite small, quite subtle. And we're going to then take our hips from left to right, so just swaying them from left to right. Breathing in and out through the nose. Allow your breath to become audible. So you can really make it quite loud. Take your gaze to the left, take your gaze to the right. And then we're going to rock backwards and forwards. Maybe you want to take your hands a bit further forwards. You could find your hips coming a bit closer towards the floor. And then back towards your heels. And we're going to do some circular movements with the hips now. So starting small, just little movements in a clockwise direction, and then building up to something bigger. So maybe your hips with this circular movement come all the way back towards the heels and then all the way forward towards the hands. Or not, maybe not. Just finding a rhythm. Feels therapeutic. And go the other way. And then come back and just sit on your heels for a moment. I want to begin to use a technique called ocean breath. So ocean breath, as the name suggests, it sounds a bit like the sea. So we're breathing in and out through the nose. I'm going to move around so you can see me better. Breathing in and out through the nose, and begin to let the breath become audible. We're not forcing it. It should feel easy. So if you've got bunged up, maybe sinus issues or cold, maybe it's not for you today. Otherwise, if you can breathe comfortably, easily through the nose, then this is a good practice for you. And then we're going to bring in a little bit of constriction around the throat. So it's not intended to be something to sort of create tension, just to help you lengthen the breath. It's the same principle as when you put your thumb over a hose pipe. So when you do that, the water spray becomes a lot finer and it goes a lot further. So the similar principle, we put a little restriction around the throat, constriction, and it means that we can lengthen our breath. And it's a very soothing, comforting practice. So let's just try this now, in and out through the nose. Don't think too hard about it. Bring in that constriction of the throat. And with that comes a sound, and it is like the sound of the sea. Maybe, you can even use some visualization. Imagine the sea coming in, washing across the shore, and out, in and out. Very soothing, calming practice. Also, brilliant way to help you focus. So if you're easily distracted, bring in the Ujjayi breath. Gives you a point of focus. So we're going to come back onto all fours. We're going to see if we can keep that flow of breath. Don't worry, if you forget about it, it's normal for that to happen, but let's just see if we can keep it going for as long as we can and come back to it when you can. So we're going to lift the right foot. And you can extend the leg. You're going to feel some sensations in the foot. Straighten the hip. We're just going to bring that knee in a little bit towards the arm, and that's going to feel strong on the hip flexors, and then we're going to lift the knee, so that sort of stretches out. Let's try that a few times. And then we're taking the foot away. And we're going to come into a little side plank. So the left foot is going to shuffle round. We're going to plant the right foot. Really push down so you feel a sense of stretch across the hip. And then the arm can come up overhead. So you feel stretch all down the side of the body. You can do a sort of banana type kind of thing with your hand. So that you're almost reaching back down towards the floor. Feel that big stretch down the hip. And then come down, bring the knee down. I'm going to turn around so you can see me, but you can stay as you are. We'll do the opposite leg, left leg, we're lifting it. So I'm keeping a bend in the knee. We want to feel a little sense of stretching across the hip, and then bringing the knee in towards the arm. Take it away. And bring it in. Taking it away. And now we're going to extend through the leg. We'll come into the side plank again. So I'm going to shuffle my right foot back behind me, planting the left foot, really pushing down. My hand comes up. I'm going to take it over my ear because I love that feeling of stretch through the left side. Some of you, if you feel in the mood for a full plank, you could do that. Otherwise, keep the knee down. Keep reaching, feel that sort of opening across the hip. Well done. Coming back down onto all fours. Then move the hips from left to right. We're going to rock the hips forward and back and bring some little circles into that movement. Then just come onto your forearms and for stability, interlace your hands. So we're going to lift the right leg. And again, you'll feel a little stretch across the hips. We're going to bring that right foot in towards the shoulder, which works the hip flexors. Take the foot up and away. And then we're going to do a little external rotation. So we're taking the hip and opening it. So the foot, the right foot, is kicking away to the left side. Maybe you can take that foot and touch it against your left shoulder. It's unlikely that that will happen, but just have that intention with the foot. And we'll just do a few of these movements. I'm just going to turn around so you can see me from the other side. Lifting the right knee, externally rotating. Taking the foot over to the left shoulder. Bring the knee in, maybe touch opposite the right hand palm. Lifting, externally rotating. So we'll do that on the left side now. Come down, lifting the left foot. Bringing the knee towards the left arm, shoulder. That's harder on the hip flexor. And then we're going to externally rotate so the knee turns out. And then imagine that that left foot is going to touch your right shoulder. And try a few of those movements. If your hips are stiff, this is a big ask for your hips. And if they're stiff, then it's going to be a lot less movement for now. That's okay. It's normal sometimes to be a bit restricted in the hips. So we're coming down, we're going to just rest back in child pose, head down, come back to your awareness of the breath. Breathing in and out through the nose, ocean breath. We're going to, from here, come up into all fours. We're going to take the right foot away. You're going to lift the foot a little bit so you feel this stretch across the hip. And now taking the right knee behind the right wrist, coming into pigeon pose. So this is strong stretch for the hip glute area. The left foot, you're sliding it away. Come onto your forearms. Be kind to your knees. If the knee feels really troubled here, then the foot comes back. If the knee is happy, the foot can come forward. If your hips are happy with it, the foot can come up the mat. Deep breaths. So come up now. So you're on your hands. We're going to roll onto the right buttock. So you're rolling over to the right side. You're going to take the left leg and bring it all the way in front, cross it over the right leg, and then sitting back into your sitting bones. So they will want to shift over a little bit onto the right side, but you're going to try and keep them down. We're just holding this top leg, this left leg, first of all, and gently drawing the knee in. And then I'm going to take my opposite hand, so I've got the left leg in front, I'm going to hug it with the right arm. I'm just going to move around so you can see what that looks like. Take the jump off. Hugging the knee with the opposite arm and twisting. Keeping the sitting bones really stable down to the ground. And then you should feel quite a strong stretch across the hip. So the more you pull this knee in and up, the deeper sensation in the hip. Make time to breathe. Keep breathing. I'm just going to turn around again. We're going to come out now, so release your grip on that front leg. We're taking it gently all the way behind us. Come back to pigeon pose. And remember, you can come down if you need to. The foot can come back if it's too much. So we're going to, from here, come out, up onto the hands, tuck the toes under, coming back into a downward dog. Walk your feet. You let your hips roll from left to right. We're going to do the opposite side, so we're taking the left leg and bringing the knee behind the left wrist, slide the other leg away. So remember that if the knee struggles with this, the foot can come away, back towards the hips. Or if it's really easy for you, you can gently shuffle the foot up the mat. Coming onto your forearms, trying to keep the hips even. It's hard to do that because of course you've got something under the hip to yeah, to lose that evenness, but can you work this right hip bone closer to the floor? Listening to your breath, come back to the ocean breath. Think of the, yeah, like the waves of the sea. We're going to come up, so we're going to come back onto the hands. We're going to roll over onto the left hip. We're going to take this back leg, this right leg, cross it over the left. So the foot, if you can, planted on the floor, and the sitting bone planted. So you're not wonky, even weight down. We're going to hug the knee with the opposite hand. So I've got the right knee forward, I'm hugging it with the left hand. This sitting bone is rooting down while I'm lifting up with lifting the knee up. And that feels quite intense around the hip, but in a nice way. So just breathing here. So there's a principle in yoga that we work with when we're moving, and it's called non-violence. It's one of the yoga ethics. So just being really attentive when you do these poses to not hurting yourself. That's one very simple way you can apply that. So not being too brutal on the knees or the hips. You want to push yourself a little bit, but not overwhelm your body. Certainly not to hurt it, no sharp feelings. Also another form of violence that is so common, and I see it a lot in yoga, is sort of self-criticism, judging, harsh judgment. So if you're finding you are a bit stiff today, not getting caught up in judging that, just being noticing but neutral, not condemning yourself. So in yoga, we want to develop in ourselves a very neutral, observant awareness. So we're going to turn back, release the knee, roll onto the left leg, take that right leg away, come back to pigeon, so you can be on the hands or in the forearms. So again, really attentive to this idea of non-violence. We don't want pain in the knee. We want to get some work out for the hips, but not if that means injuring ourselves. So we're going to come out by planting the hands, tuck the toes off the back foot under, and coming into downward dog. We're going to walk the feet and sort of do it this in a wiggly sort of way, so you get to stretch your hips and kind of walking zigzaggy towards the front of the mat. And fold down to forward bend. Enjoy that. Breathing. We're coming all the way up to standing now. Bring the hands to the heart. Stepping to the front of the mat. Feet together. We'll do a little bit of warrior because it's a lovely way to experience the hips and really focus on the alignment of the hips. So first of all, bring your hands to your hip bones, those little bony things that should be pointing forward. Find them. We're going to keep the hands there just for a moment. We're going to lift the right foot, right heel. We're going to lift the foot for a moment and then step it all the way back behind. So this is warrior one. So warrior one, front leg is bent, back leg is straight, hip bones hopefully should point evenly forward. So we don't have one hip bone back, one hip bone forward, even. And then we're going to bring our hands all the way up, overhead. Really sort of planting that back foot. If you want stronger sensation for the hips, you can come a bit lower, so the front knee bends a bit more maybe, but don't let your knee go beyond your ankle. Keep breathing. So now we're going to lift the heel off the back foot really high. So you're really working that foot, that back foot. And then we're going to rotate on the ball of the foot, so the foot turns out a little bit and the arms come to shoulder height. So this is warrior two, and suddenly our hips going in a completely different direction. Amazing stretch for the hip, thigh. So this back thigh rotates out, front thigh rotates the other way, and you'll feel that. There's a little bit of tension across the hips, stretch across the hips. Keep breathing. You look across your left hand. And then we're going to come out of this. So we're going to lift the back heel and we're going to turn back to center. So I won't bring the back heel down because we're going to step forward. So we'll keep the back heel lifted. Bring the hands to the heart, just stepping forward. So can you hold your foot for a moment and then both feet come down. I'm going to turn to the other end of the mat so we do the other side. So we'll lift the heel of the left foot. Let the foot flow up. We're going to step back, find your warrior one, Virabhadrasana, so the back toes turn out a bit, but the hip bones point forward, front knee bend. Really working back. The more you can push back into that back foot, the nicer, deeper stretch you're going to get across the hip here. Arms come up overhead. And if you want more intensity for the hips, you can maybe slide the front foot forward or the back foot back a tiny bit. Drop lower. Keep breathing. Find your Ujjayi breath, ocean breath. We're going to come out into Virabhadrasana 2, so we're lifting the back heel. It should feel really nice actually to do that. You get different sensation in the hip. We're going to rotate, planting the foot, come to arms that are shoulder height. So this back thigh is rotating, really strong pressure, firm pressure into the back foot. This front thigh is sort of turning the other way. It might be quite subtle that, but you're going to get this feeling, stretch feeling here. It should feel good. So for stronger, you drop lower. For less intense, straighten up the leg. So you're in charge of the intensity. Remember, non-violence. We're not punishing ourselves in yoga. You can look across the right fingers of the hand. Keep breathing. So we're going to come out. I'm going to get hands come back to the heart. We're going to turn on that back foot, and immediately you'll feel the hips change direction, so they're going to be pointing forward. I've come a little bit too far to slightly overextended there, and I'm going to just step forward back to the front of the mat and bring the foot down. Take a breath here. So, going to do that again, but we'll bring a chair in to this. So we'll bring in another warrior, the balancing warrior. I've got a chair here. It's not essential to have a chair, but it really is, really helps when you come to the balance. So I'm just going to put it at the end of my mat. Standing in front of the chair. Hands to the heart. I'm going to lift the right foot. Gonna slowly step back into warrior one. So take a bit of time to settle into this. You want to feel that the back foot, back leg straight, really sort of push back to the heel. If you sit up a bit more, you'll feel this amazing stretch across the hip. This should feel really good. Arms up overhead. So this is warrior one, Virabhadrasana. I'm going to lift the back heel, do that little rotation on the ball of the foot. Warrior two. Should we come back to warrior one for a moment? So you're lifting the heel, rotating, bring the foot down if you can. And then back to warrior two. And finally, back to warrior one. And this is where the chair is going to help us. We're going to step up into warrior two. If you feel like actually you don't need the chair, then of course discard the chair. But it's nice sometimes to have that support because then you can really focus on the hip. So what sometimes happens is the hip turns out. We don't want that to happen. We want to feel the hip pointing down, the hip bones pointing down evenly. Really push out through the heel of the foot. I've got the chair quite far forward. Actually, probably it's slightly more challenging if you have the chair way in front, so your fingers are on the chair. But it's also good with beginners not to have too much of a, not to overreach yourself. So with a bit of support, you can hold it longer. And we're going to come all the way up to standing. Take a breath here. To do the other side, I'm just moving my chair. You don't have to stay as you are. So, stand in front of the chair. I'm coming back a little bit actually, because I think I was too far forward there. Lifting the heel of the left foot, then let the foot float up, planting the foot. When your warrior, really get strong through the back leg and drop down into the front leg. If this is a bit too strong, remember you can always straighten the legs to lessen the intensity, or the foot could come in, so not so big a stride. We're going to take the arms up overhead. We'll lift that back heel and turn to warrior two. Virabhadrasana. So weight back into the back foot. Keep breathing. Looking over the fingers of the right hand. We're going to come up back to warrior one. Lift the heel again. Feel the hips turn. Warrior two. One more time. Lifting the heel. Turning back to warrior one. And then you can take your body forward, stepping up into Virabhadrasana 3. So this is gives you an opportunity to really focus on the hip. So we're not turning the hip out for this. We're keeping the thigh towards the floor. We're working on straightening the legs. Non-violence, remember. So if there's any pain, sometimes it's just too much for the back. Bend the knees. And we're coming out. Just bring your hands to your heart for a moment. Actually, we're going to just sit on the chair. So I'm turning the chair back. I'm going to just turn around and sit on the chair. A little break. Hands come onto the seat of the chair. I'm going to lift the chest. Push down and then round the chest. So the feet are flat. Move the head and chest around the back. You get that feeling of sort of smooth, fluid movement. Like water. Water inflow And then push into the feet a little bit. Have a little go at lifting your bum, so lifting your hips. And then maybe let them slide over or swing over towards your feet and lift up. So again, more stretch in the front of the hip. You need to take the feet further forward maybe to get better sensation. You can lift your heels too. And then we're going to just come back down to the chair. You do that a couple of times. It's a bit too much to lift, then stay on the chair, and you can just be here, rounding your back, lifting your head and chest. So, coming up. We want to feel a lift in the hips, but not to the point that there's lots of tension in the lower back or tightening in the glutes. We want it to feel quite fluid, like water. Come down. Just rounding down over the legs into a little forward bend. If you're a little stiff, then just keep your elbows on the knees. Or if you enjoy stronger, deeper stretch, then let your hands come to the floor. Slowly coming up. I'm going to use the chair to go a little bit deeper into the hip. So have a chair. You could do this from the floor as well. It is just a lunge, but using the chair helps you get a deeper experience in the hips. Probably want something under the knee as well. So I'm going to take a bit of padding for the knee. So I've got a rolled up blanket and a block. So I'm going to put the right foot on the chair. So the padding needs to come for the left knee. So the foot is on the chair. We're just going to bend and straighten that right leg first of all. Give your leg a little workout. And use your ocean breath again. Non-violent, so it's gentle movement. It can be strong, but not, so no sharp feelings. Now we're going to slightly hop or shuffle the left foot away, and this is where you use the support. So it could come, the knee could come onto the support. We're holding the back of the chair. We're going to really let that left knee sink down to the floor. But that thigh, that left thigh, is gently sort of pushing towards the seat of the chair. So you get this amazing stretch traveling up the front of the thigh. If you lift up, pull the belly in, up, you should feel it travel into the hip. It also stretches the hip flexor, in particular the psoas muscle, which goes from the inner thigh into the lower back. Often that muscle causes back pain when it's tight. I find that I don't really need so much under the knee, so I'm going to take the blanket away. So you might need more, you might need less. I'm just going to hold this and breathe. Use your ocean breath. When you're ready, it is intense. It is intense, this, so that's where the breath really helps for relaxing the muscles. When you're ready, you're going to come out. Take your time, so make sure you're gripping the chair. Tuck the toes of the back foot under, gently coming up. Popping the back foot in a little. I'm going to take both feet to the floor. I'm going to do a little downward dog on the chair, so hands onto the seat of the chair. Let your knees bend. Take your bum back so you feel lengthening in the spine. You're rolling hips from left to right. And then taking my hips forward. So I'm doing almost like a little plank to the chair. And then from here, just very gently drop your hips towards the seat of the chair. They could actually rest completely on the chair if you need to, or just hover. If your back is small, keep a bend in the knees. Upward dog from a chair. Quite nice. Take your time, come back to downward dog. Step forward. We're going to do the other leg. So if you need a cushion, blankets, take it for the right knee. We're putting the left foot on the chair. So first of all, let's just bend and straighten the leg. Really mindful, gentle movement. Use your Ujjayi breath. And then we're going to just slide the back foot away and drop the knee. Some of you might find that you could bring the knee completely to the floor. That would be fine as well. It doesn't. So we want to relax into this. So dropping the back knee down. But the front thigh, the thigh of the right leg, we're gently pushing forward with that thigh. You can hold the seat of the chair, back of the chair. Breathing into this. Use your ocean breath to help you become completely absorbed. It's nice to hold this for a bit of time so that the hip tissues around the hip flexor can soften. When you're ready, you're going to come out, take it slow, tuck the toes of the back foot under first, put your weight into the seat of the chair, straighten up, stepping back. Let's do a version of downward dog to the chair. So the bum comes back. You're really as though you're going to push your tailbone against the wall behind you, lengthening there, and then bend the knees so you're not. Want to feel quite springy, not holding it rigid. And coming forward, you can have a little version of plank to the chair. So hands under the shoulders. You could Push your heels back a little bit, sort of rock in and out of this. And then finally, dropping the hips. This time, let's just rest the hips on the seat of the chair if you can. See how that feels. Lifting the chest, so you feel deep stretch. Pull up out of the pelvic area. Belly back. And to rest on the front of the feet. And then coming out. So I'm going to come to sitting now. You just put the chair to one side. Take a seated position. The feet are going to be on the floor in front of you. You're going to just roll the knees from left to right. The hands are coming behind you. Just move my stuff out of the way. Hands behind you. Roll your hips to the left and to the right. You're just sort of twisting. So when you can intensify this. When the knees go to the left side, you can lift your head, chest, turn to the right to get a bit of a twist. When the knees go over to the right, push the floor away, lift your head, chest, turn the other way. Do that a few times. We're going to come up with the feet, so the supported by the hands, just roll over onto the right hip joint, just sort of massaging around the hip. You do little circles with your knees. Go to the left. Sorry. Bashing into things. And then come back to centre. Bring the soles of the feet down, lying all the way down on our backs. Bring the feet together now, so the soles of the feet touch. We're going to bring the hands onto the hips. Deep breaths here. And finishing by bringing the knees up. So the feet are still flat on the floor. Hands are going to come to the hips. We're just going to lift and lower the hips. We're going to make that very mindful movement. No jerky, jarring sensations here. Very smooth. And quite subtle. So I'm not actually lifting much at the moment, just the tailbone. And then I'm going to build up, lifting the hips vertebrae by vertebrae. If you need a bit more support from the feet, you could take them a bit wider. Find a way to position the feet so you've got more stability. Bringing the breath into this. So we're going to synchronize that upward lift of the hips with the in-breath and the downward with the out-breath. Ocean breath in and out.
The body's coming up and down like a wave. And you can do your hand movements too, so that the hands can come up overhead like a wave and down. And the out breath. Very therapeutic, calming, fluid movement. And finally, when you're ready to rest, you're bringing your hands back to the floor. The hips can come down. The legs could be straight if you enjoy, and that feels good for the back to have straight legs. Otherwise, you could take the feet wide on the mat and let the knees drop in. That's really good for your psoas muscles, to relax your psoas muscle, which is your hip flexor. And we're just taking a few more Ujjayi breath, ocean breaths, big breaths in, out. Very soothing for the body and the mind. And finally, just letting go of everything. The breath, no thinking. Just melting the body down to the floor, to the earth. Enjoy that feeling. Aparigraha, no violence, ahimsa, nothing to prove here, just neutral, very neutral in our awareness, no judging, no sharp feelings, no sharp criticism. And to finish, just going to bring the hands in to prayer and rest them against your forehead. Enjoy that sensation of weight against the brow, releasing any tension there.